Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Q&A with Broken Arrow City Council candidate Cathy Smythe. My name is Penny Nelson, and I volunteered to serve as moderator for tonight's Q&A. We're here for a courteous and informative conversation so you can get to know Cathy. And for that reason, we have our other volunteer, Emily Brandenburg, moderating the chat and managing technical support. And to maximize our time together and to keep from over talking, let's keep our microphones on mute and share your questions for Cathy in the meeting chat. I will also be asking Cathy some questions that were recently collected online from Broken Arrow residents, as well as pulling questions from the chat window as you send them. Our conversation today is come and go as you please, but we'll be posting the recording of the session on Cathy's website and on social media for everybody to access in the future. And thank you again for joining us. Good evening, Cathy. Could you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, such as how long you have lived here and why you are running for City Council now?
Well, sure. Good evening. So nice to be here with you and to let you know a little bit about me. I've lived in Broken Arrow for 9 years, and I started to get interested in local government after I retired, after I wasn't traveling too with my job. That took a lot of my time. So my decision to run came because of the dilemma with the mask mandate. It just seemed to me like the science was being totally ignored during the pandemic, and I just thought another view was needed. So with a little persuasion from a group of people, I decided to run.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
What neighborhood do you live in and why? And what are your favorite places to spend time in our town?
So I live at 61st Albany and Lynn Lane, in the neighborhood of Carriage Crossing, just down the street from the high school. And when we found the house, my husband Jerry and I, it just met all of our needs. It was really convenient to the expressway and close to shopping and other conveniences, so we bought it. So some of my favorite places in Broken Arrow are in the Rose District, McHouston's Books and Bistro, bookstore, and a good place for lunch. I like to go to any of the antique malls. The Broken Arrow Museum's kind of interesting too every now and then. And a Mexican restaurant, there's quite a few of them.
Yes, there are. Have you volunteered or served the city in some way in the past? And do you have any plans to do so going forward?
Well, since I've been in the area, I've volunteered for the Tulsa Global Alliance and for the Alliance Française. And I grew up in France. I was 13 when we left France, and I've always had an interest in keeping up my French skills and my just interest in the culture of France all the time. So that's my volunteer work, and I plan to keep doing volunteer work and maybe do something here with the Broken Arrow neighbors in their food pantry, because I have been going to Tulsa to the Community Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma, but yeah, there's a need right here in Broken Arrow too, so I could do that. Great.
And what practical experience will you bring to City Council?
I spent 40 some odd years working in IT, designing and implementing computer systems for a lot of different major companies. So I'm very analytical, and I want to understand the details, and I'm usually able to find answers to the questions that I have. So you can be pretty sure that if there's a vote before the council, that I'll have researched it, had my questions answered, and formed an opinion based on the data, and felt confident about it also.
Great. And just a reminder, if anybody has any questions, you can type them in the chat window at any time. And Cathy, what are your top 3 concerns for Broken Arrow?
Well, I hate to bring up the the truth here, but
We need
we're
the
going to
truth.
have to be, we need the truth, yeah, but we're going to have to be aware of COVID for at least the next year. At least it's going to take that long, according to the scientists, to have everybody immunized and to stop the spread of the virus. That's the message we get from the CDC and from Dr. Dart. So I truly think we need that mask mandate in Broken Arrow in order to provide our businesses here with some teeth when they need to talk to a customer who's not wearing a mask. They need to be able to say that the city wants us to wear masks when we are together under a roof and we can't social distance. So I am going to be for a mask mandate. Another concern I have is that the growth in parts of the city seem to be unbalanced. Right now we seem to be going through a phase where there's more development up north than down south. From what I've heard, it used to be 20 some odd years ago that at 101st and Elm, that was the place to be. But it's kind of shifted. And so I see the economic development efforts that are going on with the partnership between the Chamber of Commerce and the city. So I'm hoping that the plans that they have going and the budget and all of that is it's going to work in favor of spreading the growth around to various other places. And number 3 on my list is I want to give everybody a voice in Broken Arrow. I want people to have their opinions heard and to let those opinions combined with reason be the driver for decision making in the city.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to read a question from Lori. Okay, given that young professionals are looking for a community they can work and play in, how would you encourage this kind of lifestyle? Tulsa is well known for its outdoor recreation and cultural events. Are these things you would like to see in Broken Arrow?
So I would like to see that in Broken Arrow, sure. I have to ask you, Lori, does that not happen in Broken Arrow right now? But I don't think that's necessarily the job of the city council. I think the job of the city council is to for the economy, for growth and development, and then for the people who run the businesses to make the things happen for drawing people in.
Great, thank you. I noticed Lori commented that Broken Arrow is not very pedestrian friendly as a part of that. Okay, so next question.
So you helped me identify some other things to think about. Thank you, Lori, appreciate that.
This question is from Kay. What role do you see the city playing in the vaccine distribution?
So I understand there is a clinic now in Broken Arrow that people can log on to their website and sign up for a shot if they're eligible. I think that's great. I think they're acting in the same way that a CVS or a Walgreens is acting as a distributor of the vaccine, and I think it's wonderful, quite honestly. That they want to get into the business of doing that, or to get into the practice of doing that for the citizens. Yeah.
Great. Here's one of the questions that I had from our Facebook group. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
So after the election is going to be April 6th. And then 14 days later, the new council is sworn in, the new members are sworn in. And right after that starts the budget workshops that there will be talking about the budget for fiscal year that starts in July, runs through June 30th. And so that's the first thing that the new city council is going to work on. That's probably one of the biggest things that they work on is the budget to keep the city running. So that approving that budget, making sure that it meets all of the needs of the city is certainly one of the biggest steps to take for a firmer financial footing. Yeah.
We have
budget, right? Three things.
Right. We have a question from Diane. Why has Broken Arrow been the holdout on a mask ordinance?
Why have they been a holdout on a mask ordinance?
Do you feel like they're maybe playing, politics or?
I can't speak for others as far as why there's such opposition to it. I can only say that the science makes sense to me, that it is the only thing that makes sense at this point. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's what we have to do. Yeah.
Okay, another question. How can the city help our small businesses recover from the losses that we suffered through the last year?
So I've been learning the last couple of days about this economic development partnership between the Chamber of Commerce and the city and the school system. When all three of those entities work together, they can provide economic development for the city very effectively. So it seems to me that the answer to that would come from this group, from these people who are members of the chamber, who are the businesses in Broken Arrow, the managers in the city, and the school system administrators. And I would think that would be the first place where I would go to ask the question as to how we can help small businesses.
If elected, how would you handle constantly struggling commercial properties that are always vacant?
Again, I think we're coming back to the economic development and the Chamber of Commerce. These are the people that are the link between the city and the businesses, and they're the ones that need to get together and work to come up with some solutions, propose things, and pass them by the city council.
Great. This question is from Diane. Can you tell us about your education?
My education? Mm-hmm. I have a degree in data processing, and then one in general studies where I studied communications and French. And then I have a master's degree in foreign languages.
How do you feel about the transportation options that are currently available in our city? Do we have enough options? And if not, as a city councilor, what would you do to increase those?
Do we have any options?
I believe just Uber at this point. I know that I didn't have a car when I first moved to the area, and I had to choose my personal location based on that, on how easily I could get to a grocery store and whatnot. So I believe that the only thing we really have is Uber at this point.
So that gets back to economic development, and somebody would have to have a study certainly they would want to examine what the needs are, what could be done, what might work. It's not I'll bring buses to Broken Arrow. But I don't think this part of the country runs on buses very well, quite honestly. So there definitely would have to be some study, some examination of what the options are.
Great.
Yeah.
This question is from Shannon. Let's see here. Oh, hold on one moment. What are your plans for getting in touch with state representatives and possible new businesses? Do you have a way of networking? Do you have plans for that?
That's a good question, Shannon. Quite honestly, no, I have no plans for that. I have no contacts in that area. But again, I haven't been working in that area before. So at this point, it would be having to make new contacts, having to reach out and find people who can help and have some knowledge of whatever it is I'm looking for.
If elected, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making processes in our town?
So, I often wonder, does everybody want to be involved in the decision-making process? Or do they want to know what's going on? I'd imagine there's a couple of different types of people that are interested in government, and it's all about communication, really. If somebody wants to be involved in the decision-making process, they can communicate with their representatives. They can attend council meetings. They can speak up at council meetings when called upon. And if they just want to make sure that they're aware of what's going on, what's in the budget, what decisions are being made, I think the city of Broken Arrow does a pretty good job of communicating that with a lot of their videos that they have, and they certainly send out a lot of information via email subscriptions. So I don't think there's much of a desert of information available. Yeah, I'm not sure I answered that one completely, but ask again if I didn't, please.
Oh, I think you did pretty good. On many issues, our nation is so divided right now. If elected, how do you plan to balance the desires of all of our constituents?
It's like taking your kids and making everybody happy, right? You go a long way towards interacting with people well if you listen to them. And I think that people want to be heard. They want you to consider what they have to say, have a discussion with them about it, maybe see if you can pull out something of their opinion that you can mold and change yours a little bit, or vice versa. I think the whole way towards some of this reconciliation is to have the conversations and to try to understand each other and have a little empathy for each other. So, yeah, communication.
If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way that you wanted, what would you want to see done with it and why?
I think there are a lot of people who have some great ideas and just need a little bit of money and a little bit of backing and a little bit of encouragement, and they could be the next entrepreneur, around the corner. I think I would, with that $1 million, I'd like to take some proposals from young entrepreneurs and give them some money and let them try to do their thing.
Great. We have another question from Lori. When receiving communication from community members, do you believe a timely response is warranted? One council member replied to an email 6 months after the fact.
No, 6 months, why bother? The email sent to me is going to be answered unless it's something that is full of bad language and nonsense. But I will answer every email that I get. Yes.
How do you feel about Broken Arrow citizens serving on different committees to address some of the issues, plans, or problems?
How do I feel about it? It seems to me they'd be the likely ones to offer any input and solve any problems that might be present in Broken Arrow. So it would make sense for them to be involved.
And what are your feelings about the city using grants, federal and private?
I'd have to think about conflict of interest. If the grant money is being given with any kind of stipulations, if somebody is being compensated for some favors, I would want to have total transparency in knowing how that grant money came to arrive where it did. But using grants, that's what grants are for. If you can justify a grant, you can talk about your project, you have a plan for implementation, then a grant is a nice thing to have, for sure.
Okay, here's a question from Lori. Recently at a city meeting, a video comparing mass to the Holocaust. How did that make you feel? Some council members were quick to state that it was inappropriate, but others remained silent. What would you have done?
Well, the Holocaust was a horrible part of our history. It was not something that we would want to see repeated in any way, and to compare those atrocities associated with the Holocaust with the mask mandate are two very unrelated things. I think the rabbis and who spoke up against it were right. I think everybody who spoke up against it was right. That should never have been shown, quite honestly.
Okay, so now I would like to, if anybody feels that I missed a question that is important to them, you can go ahead and raise your hand and I will unmute you, and Cathy can talk directly to you if that's okay with everybody. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
You can just raise your hand.
I don't see anybody, so.
Diane, did you ask your question? Yeah.
To unmute. There we go.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you for having this. And I still, I really, want to see this incumbent unseated. I'm just very disappointed in how this past few months have gone for my city. I think we have a huge black eye in the Tulsa community. I think we reflect poorly on the national level, certainly with that video and such. So, you have 6 weeks, Cathy, to unseat this candidate. And, can you tell us how you plan to do that? And then also how we could get involved in helping you do that?
So this campaign kind of came together quickly and without a whole lot of professional help. And we're still kind of getting through it without a lot of professional help, but we're just moving along. We're doing what we can, but we're also trying to keep in the confines of wearing a mask, social distance, no meet and greets, that sort of stuff. I don't want to have any type of virus spread associated with this campaign. That would just be horrible if we ever got to that. So that's kind of contrary to the way the opposition is working. And I think we have to be true. I have to be true to what I believe in that sense.
Great. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Okay.
Oh, hold on. You're still muted, Kay.
You muted me.
No, I unmuted you. I'm sorry. Oh, my bad.
I was a public librarian and then a school librarian for Union Public Schools. So also my other little thing is, when you do stuff dealing with the schools, don't forget there are union schools in Broken Arrow, and those teachers and those families will need to be addressed as well as Broken Arrow schools. Union is part. There are several. My girls went to Anderson. It's a union school, but it's in Broken Arrow. I taught at Peters Elementary. It's a union school, but it's in Broken Arrow. So all of those families that go there are affected by what happens in Broken Arrow, but they're not in the Broken Arrow public schools.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Is anybody seeing anybody? Nope. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your insights with us, Cathy. If folks joining us now or watching after the fact have any additional questions, what are the best ways for them to get answers?
Emily, that's your cue. Or is it mine? There we go.
Yeah. So Cathy can be reached in whatever way is most attractive to you. She's made herself available over call or text, email, on social media. She even has a P.O. box. So if you visit CathySmythe.com, you can get the P.O. box address and send her a letter.
Great. And how about if somebody would like to make a campaign contribution?
The website is CathySmythe.com, and there is a donate button on that website.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Cathy, for hosting this tonight. And I hope to see everybody soon. Get out and vote on April 6th. Anything else you'd like to say?
Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we are going to post this out on social media, and so everybody can hear it. Thanks for all your input. Good night.
Good night.